How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. I talk about avoiding depreciation a lot, mainly to maximize your net worth gains. The corollary to this would be to buy timeless items where the value of the item itself retains very well over many years. Of course, if you buy really good timeless items, it might actually even appreciate in value. So last time I talked about how a paper shredder is actually a bit timeless because no one ever really puts electronics inside a paper shredder these days. As long as a paper shredder works for many years, if a new model comes out, you're not going to go, oh my gosh, I need to upgrade to that brand new model, because there's not that much electronics inside a paper shredder. All it is a AC cord going into a motor with a little switch. Now, timeless items is what I consider things that do not break very easily. They usually last for a really long time. They're very hard to become obsolete. They're usually well-made mechanical items and usually with minimal electronics built in inside it. If it does have a rechargeable battery, and if it's one of these timeless items, you usually should be able to replace a rechargeable battery, not one of these, Apple devices where the rechargeable battery is built in and it's really hard to replace that battery internally. Now, some of you have asked me for some more examples of these things, and they're quite hard to come up with. And what I notice is, yes, they are very well made mechanical items, like things that are machined, things that are made out of metal, such as really good knives. Knives don't actually go out of date really, because as long as they're sharp, they can cut something. Sometimes if it's really old, it's even better. A mechanical keyboard is another one of these things where the switch is rated to have many more cycles than a typical keyboard. So therefore, this type of keyboard will actually last you a lot longer. A cast iron pan is another one of these things that is very timeless. You can use it for a really long time. It actually gets better over time if you use it properly. And let's say if you have a 100-year-old one, that's all the better, because you'll have this really old pan that actually is functional and is actually very non-stick if you know how to use it. As an example of a timeless mechanical item, I have over here a very well-made wrench. This is forged in the USA. It's a Craftsman brand over here. 12 inches long. It's very smooth when you move this little slider thingy. If you compare a wrench to a China-made one, sometimes the quality control is not so good, and maybe the material inside this wrench is not so good in terms of the alloy that's inside. With an improperly made wrench, you can actually try to turn a nut, and it would actually break over here because the metal is not as strong as a properly made wrench. With that said, you can imagine that there are many high quality tools out there, and yes, they might be a little bit more costly. However, they're going to last you a long time. For cheap tools, if you ever try to take it to the extreme of what they say they are rated at, you might just break the cheap tools. This wrench over here will probably never break on me and will likely last me a long time. If I come to a point where I need to sell something like this, the value of this will probably be very well retained because the functionality is there. So if someone else goes, oh, I want to use a wrench, I want to buy a wrench, maybe they want to buy a used one, this thing is going to do its job because, it's just a really dumb piece of metal, but it's well made and it will be able to turn your nut if you want it to. Now, other instances of mechanical things that retains value very well is generally optics, things that are a piece of glass that's inside, such as telescopes, microscopes, where it has a bunch of optics inside. I've seen even used microscopes. They sell for a really high price. They retain their value very well. Things like camera lenses generally retain their value very well because it's just a dumb piece of glass. Sometimes, yes, it has a little bit of electronic in it to move the motors and stuff like that. But generally what I've seen is optics of high-end cameras. I need to point out that some people are really big fans of Rolexes. They are in couple $1,000 range. However, if you wear something like that and you're not careful and you scratch it up, you will lose the value of it a little bit. Rolexes tend to keep their value mainly because it's a mechanical piece of machinery, okay? It has its brand. It's made out of very precision made pieces of metal, just like kind of like this, except extended to much smaller scale, I guess, and a lot more parts. Even if you have to pay a little bit more on a per use basis, it's quite worth it because when you are using a high quality tool, you get the job done, you save time that way, and you don't have to fiddle with this little knob. In a badly made wrench, you likely have more resistance when turning this, and therefore it's gonna waste your time, trying to mess with a wrench in order to make it work for you. So that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to give me a like on this video. Comment down below. Let me know other examples of timeless items that you have in mind. If you're interested in supporting this channel, don't forget to check out my Audible link down in the video description below, where you can get a free audiobook. And if you don't like this audiobook or this service, you can cancel it before the subscription expires, and you can still keep this audiobook for life. Even if you cancel this subscription, you can still listen to this audiobook afterwards, and you can still also benefit this channel. I have a Patreon over here where you can get various perks at various contribution levels. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel over here and click that bell icon next to that subscribe button so that you get a notification whenever I upload a brand new video. Thanks for watching.